Goal setting as a topic is being discussed by all of us, especially when it comes to events like New Year, or maybe you are getting into a new job or new role, or maybe new business. That is the time when we are more focused, more concentrated towards creating our own goals, vision, mission, values, etc. But many a times it is just an exercise which we do in the beginning of a particular transition in a role or a new thing, and then it fizzles out, and then we are lost, and then we don't even remember what it was, and we start recreating it. So every time we see that there is a new diary, a new planner, we keep working on that goal setting to start with. So Shantesh, the whole idea is to look at how can goal setting be done maybe in a different way, or also to look at the different angles, that dynamics which is associated with it.
Yeah, I think what is important in this conversation, Prasanna, is that we all have done this. And most of the times, if I compare where I have stopped pursuing that path versus the times when I have carried forward. For example, for many years I have bought this planner because you brought the example of a planner. But it is perhaps only in the recent past that I have started using it, and I did not need a new year to start that. Same goes with journaling. So when you set a larger goal, there are two things that are happening. One is the goal itself becomes daunting. And since we are not breaking it into piecemeal, it starts discouraging us after a while, because you start evaluating your current position with the goal itself. So there is no in-between step to measure yourself against, and therefore you start feeling disheartened. Often also in such scenarios, for the first 3 to 4 months, it is like muscle building, like going to a gym. You need to develop your sort of skill set, develop a habit to practice whatever task you are setting up for or towards that goal. But often what happens is that it is never producing the result for the first 3 to 4 months, or very little result. And we get disheartened by that and we get sidetracked. When it has worked for me personally is either when I have not set a larger goal but only as a daily habit. So that is in case of journaling, or when I have set a larger goal but broken it into piecemeal, where I am planning my each day. So to formulate a to-do list and then time box it and try and see that you rearrange and sequence yourself in such a way that all the tasks, or at least 80% of your tasks, are accomplished. And at the beginning of the day itself, even if you're not accomplishing all the tasks, you're very clear about it. So that is when it leaves you at least empowered, or feeling that you have done something at the end of the day. And so there is something to measure against. So that's my first take.
Yeah, so I think what you are saying makes a lot of sense, Shantesh, because if we are not getting those results, then we get demotivated. So it is important to first cut down into smaller things, is what I am also realizing now. Instead of having a bigger goal, say just take health for example. Most of us are concerned about health and well-being. So if I take it as an example, if I want to reduce say 5 kgs, so rather than having that whole goal of 5 kg or 10 kg reduction in a given time of 4 months, 6 months, 1 year, whatever, how about reducing it to a smaller thing? And when I'm saying reducing the goal, not only in terms of the parameters or the measurement or the matrix which we decide, but also in terms of formulating that matrix or defining that matrix. So instead of looking at the outcome-based metric, I can also have a process-based metric, whether it is to going for a gym or yoga or swimming, whatever the activity I'm involving, or reducing my sugar content or some kind of food which is not helpful for me. So I think on those regards also I can keep smaller goals, and those smaller goals will give me quick results. And those quick results are not because I want to have quick results. It is because for getting the dopamine hit, that my gamification starts in a way. I can start seeing the scoreboard moving, and without seeing that scoreboard movement, we as humans get demotivated sometimes. So that's not a bad thing to have. At the same time, when we are talking about process part, it is also important to understand the fun and the joy of the journey satisfaction, as we say, rather than only focusing on the destination or end goal. We should also look at the journey part of it, and that becomes a very important aspect, because even if you are not getting the result quickly, you will still continue with the journey. And many a times it is important again, because the example which I gave of health, if you reduce 10 kgs, many a times we have seen people do that and then they start celebrating. And then that celebration leads to another 15 extra kgs in next 1 year. And we have seen many times, in fact, all of us have gone through that phase also. And that's again related to health, but it can be seen in wealth, relationships, everywhere, that we achieve certain goal and then we take it for granted and then we lose the fun of it. So the whole process satisfaction thing again comes here handy. If you are enjoying that process of going to gym or walk or reducing your sugar content or other food, I think that stays with you in the long run, not only stick to one particular achievement of goal, but also in the long run.
Absolutely. And when you brought about the topic of gamification, that is a motivating factor that allows you to gratify a little quickly than, and then so when there is a sort of a measurement to measure yourself or clock yourself against, you start getting motivated, inspired to continue on that path. But that is again short-lived. The second aspect is in the world of social media or a lot of information bombardment. Let's not blame social media here, but information overload that is happening. We are constantly kind of distracted. So there is one information on one subject, suddenly something else comes, then something else comes, then something else comes, and then we are constantly kind of distracted with it. That takes us off our goal. Or we are kind of then focusing here and then suddenly it shifts there and then there and then there. And so you're not constantly aware of your goal a lot of times. So keeping that in front of you, not quite literally, maybe literally also would help, but keeping that in front of you will always help, because that goal and everything revolving around that goal will allow you to kind of keep that in focus in some manner. But it is a deliberate effort that is really required from within. When I speak about deliberate effort, only building a habit around it is not going to help. Habit will help you establish a certain path. But when you start seeing no result, that is where the problem starts. And I think inculcating that aspect of, activities revolving around your goal as part of your lifestyle, allows you to kind of exhibit a completely different attitude towards that goal. And then it actually, when it becomes part of your lifestyle, you don't question those activities. You don't get, even if you're getting bored by it or anything, you don't really ask questions, but you start taking those small required necessary steps on the time.
And that's a good way of looking at it. So one side of it. The other side of it is also to question in a way, because when you are not getting results, then it is important to understand why is it that we are not getting results. And I think that's an important point here, because again, coming back to our example of health, if I am doing certain things, say for example, someone told me that I should drink Loki juice, 1 glass of Loki juice every morning. If I am drinking that consistently, I am achieving that goal, I am getting that motivation, gamification, dopamine hit by ticking the box every day, but I'm not seeing the result, then I have to really look at. So when we are defining the goals, coming back to the definition of goal, it has to come from the first principles. So say again, in case of health, the basic first principle coming from a very fundamental mathematics or fundamental physics is that there is a burn and earn ratio. So you are earning something. If you eat something, you are earning fat, energy, calories. And when you walk, when you jog, when you go for swim, when you do yoga, you are burning something. So that earn burn is a very fundamental thing. So coming and building your goals from that rather than trying to find a quick fix. Someone said that, oh, you go and eat this fruit, or you go and have this pill, or you have this protein powder. I think that's a very quick fix way of doing things, trying to get to the solution quickly just because it may give us results immediately. But I don't know whether it is going to sustain in the long run. Coming and building our processes based on first principles, I think is a very appropriate approach and can give results, yet it can be very sustainable.
I'm not sure about sustainable result, but results definitely yes with first principle, and it really helps because it is measurable. While taking the example of weight loss itself, and from sharing from personal experience, I would like to bring forth the two aspects. So the first principle where you sort of earn and you burn, you are looking at that. in the context of weight, let's say, your body requires, or you are habituated to consume 2,200 calories per day. Now you are bringing a lifestyle when you want to consume 1,500 calories per day. For a sedentary lifestyle, it is okay, but suddenly you cannot shift to that. But slowly, let's say, for understanding purpose, we kind of slowly develop a habit, and we are comfortable now around 1,500 calories, and we can manage. But you still are feeling a little bit, low on energy sometimes. So you need, depending on the change of season, whatever activities you are doing, you will do that. But when you are taking, let's say, 1,500 calories, burning about 1,500 calories and doing that at a transactional level, it definitely works. The problem here is the moment you achieve goal, how do you then sustain? So you start either becoming too calculative, which becomes either mundane or cumbersome, and therefore
Boring.
full. So you start feeling the pain, and despite pain, just to maintain, you will have to push through, which is what a lot of actors are doing, because it's the professional demand which is there, and therefore they have to really push hard. But where a few weeks ago you referred to John Abraham's example, where for 16, 17 years he hasn't had Kaju Katli, which is kind of an extreme, where you like something so much and you are still refraining from having even a little piece of it, with the fear that you will start eating a lot. And apart from transaction, when you look at it as exchange, so in my experience, here comes into picture. When I brought down the calorie count, on one side, I'm aware of what I'm consuming, how much I'm consuming, what as a workout I'm doing. On the other side, when I'm consuming what I'm consuming, if I'm really mindful towards it, if I choose it, if I really curate my food, if I prepare it myself, I observe that the way I eat it is totally different from versus, let's say, I go off the counter and buy that and directly start eating. When I'm really hungry, your tendency is to eat as quickly as possible. And in that process, you lose track of it. But when you have prepared for it, even when you are hungry, you have kind of prepared and you have set up your table or plate, even if you're buying it from outside, and really then slowly eating it, you tend to eat only that is really required. And you observe that your hunger is fulfilled way before you think you are full. And that suddenly becomes slowly, at what point I don't know, but becomes part of your lifestyle. And I think that is an exchange, not a transaction, because you cannot really measure that. But that really allows you to take the sustainable factor of maintaining your weight or diet into a completely different realm, where you're not, burdened by it while maintaining it. That's sort of, I'm not sure if I'm communicating it, but that's from my personal experience. I don't know if it is even valid.
So I think
there is a research behind it.
Yeah. No, I think what you're saying is correct. And absolutely. So the other thing, when come to, when you pointed out to the research part, the research which has been done since 2000 till almost 2017, they did a research which was to look at whether the activity level of people has gone drastically down or up or whatever it is compared to what it was in the past century. And it has come out that it is not drastically changed. So it is not that the activity level, especially they did the research on children, that whether the children activity, we assume, right, that's the feeling which we get, that because of television, because of computers, people are normally sitting on the chair and they are not moving outside. There is a fact which is there, there is some truth to it, definitely, but the activities are still there. Still kids go for sports, they act, they do bicycling, they do various things. So they are active that way. The real problem, so the problem is not as much as to connect it with obesity and other things. The reason for obesity, what research says, is about food, and especially the hidden form of sugar which is there in most of the things. And it has the theory about the sugar lobby supporting it, and they blaming the whole thing on the fat and other things. So those things are there behind that. But coming back to our goal setting point, many a times we set the goals also based on the trends and what looks good or what looks cool, as we say, in our nearby surrounding. And that's why when we take these goals, we are I don't know. One way we say that we are committed to these things, but say for example, if I take just 3 habits, and typically during New Year resolution we do that. I will go for every day. Say I'm just taking 3 of my own things. I will go every day for 1 hour walk. I will do 1 hour of reading every day, and I will reduce sugar content. Okay, very simple. 3 things, only 3 things to be done. In my whole day, I do hundreds of activities. There are different tasks which I do. Some related to my profession, my work, some related to my personal life, some related to various other things which I do as my hobby. So these things I keep doing. But to ensure that these 3 things, we can call it as a good habit or whatever we want to call, but to do the 3 things, if it is really challenging, then I have to question that is it really something which I am committed because I have taken them, or it is because of the influence of someone or something going around me that is influencing me. Because anything which I want to do today, if I am putting it on tomorrow, that means I am okay to die without doing that thing. Right? Which means it is not important to me. Because out of the 500 things or 100 things which I am doing, in that 100 things I am not fitting these 3 things, there is some problem for sure. Now, what is that problem is a question. We don't have to answer, Shantesh, you and I here, because it can be different for different people. But I would like to keep it as a question for all the people who are watching and listening also, so that they can also ponder and we also ponder about it, that why is it that these 3 things, very simple things, 20 minutes yoga or 1 hour of swimming or walking or cycling, why is it skipped? Whereas the rest of the things we do, we watch, you just look at the screen time spent on mobile phone or whatever social media or whatever screen time. In today's world, all devices give this report, weekly report, daily report. So that's tremendous. So it's definitely much more than the time required for the 3 activities.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm wondering, because there is one other aspect that we have to really question into this, and I'm not looking at it from any judgment point of view. It's in fact in a very non-judgmental, from a distance point of view, that we will have to look at this. That on the day of New Year's Eve, or whenever we were approaching the New Year, that we set this goal, it seemed like an important thing to do. It was a high priority thing. Forget about 1 hour of walk, 1 hour of reading a book. Just say 20 minutes of yoga and 10 minutes of reading every day as a habit, which takes it only 30 minutes. 30 minutes is nothing but one sitcom episode. And if we can binge watch 5, 6 at a time, then why can't we take out time? And if that seemed a high priority on 31st December, then by 31st January, what happened? Why did it not occur as a high priority? Why is it okay to die without actually doing that? So what actually changed is there is no glamour in really, doing these activities.
I don't know. Yeah, I get what you're saying, but honestly speaking, I don't know, because there might be, see, there is no glamour in watching a sitcom also, in a way, if you see. There's no glamour in wasting time with what other people tell us to do, and we keep doing those things also sometimes. So I don't know. So glamour or maybe cool factor or various things are there, I agree. But real issue is for us, suddenly something else becomes more important than what we said that it is important for us. And the things
when I say glamour, let me also clarify that the result is not seen immediately.
Yes.
The gratification which you get from watching the half an hour sitcom episode, instantly you feel part of something else. That is not happening.
Yeah, there is a gratification. There is also a kind of escapism involved in that.
Yeah.
Because now that 30 minutes, you are into a different world altogether. So that also gives you to stay away from your weight. You stay away from your increasing level of glucose in your body. You stay away from your addictions which are bothering you. So you, in a way, it's a way of escaping also. So you are right. And then I was also looking, Shantesh, at the other aspect of it, that when it comes to our goals, we don't relate to them or those activities the same way as we relate to some of the things which we do on some of the special days. As we started with saying that the first day of my first job, for example, I planned the day. I know exactly what I will be wearing. I know what bus I will be taking to the office. or what time I will be reaching. So whole thing we have planned, and we really stick to each and everything almost which is planned, because we treat it as a special day. Same is for many of the wedding days, or if there is an award function, or there is something which one participates in a sports or a game or on going on a stage, etc. So we plan those special days. But then we can also create a framework of relating to every new day as a special day.
Yeah.
Because every new day is a fresh day. And if we relate to it as a special day, then this Sunday afternoon also becomes special. To wait that there will be one Sunday afternoon,
it's a not so special day. Every day is a simple day. And what is coming to my mind in the background is in few weeks ago, few months ago, we discussed this again about this episode of Karate Kid, where to become a master in karate, you are actually cleaning a car and you are just doing wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off. And there is no glamour in it. There is no gratification in it. There is nothing that, excites you. And there is a point where the kid is completely demotivated, but is simply doing it just because he said so. And in doing that, after a while, it's not only that the car shines, but the kid also shines. And that is something which really we are not committed to. So in the long run, when we have to realize that each of our day is not going to be the way we see it on the screen. Even in fact, we are seeing days of other individuals on the screen. It's not as exciting as it is portrayed. So just to kind of detach from that a little bit and taking these small steps, one step at a time, and recognizing that it will lead us somewhere, and having that faith is something which I think is missing. So that's my sort of observations which are coming from this conversation for me to take away, Prasanna. Anything that you have, you can say, and then we can complete this conversation.
Yeah. So I would like to complete it with the wax on, wax off example which you gave. So one aspect of it is to do the content part of it without focusing on the context, which is also good. Sometimes it works. And second is to do deliberate practice with fully being mindful about why you are doing what you are doing by giving meaning to that activity. And I will not take any of the stand that this is good or that is bad, because sometimes both are equal. Sometimes it is you are not getting the meaning, but still that activity becomes important. So as you said, the wax on, wax off is needed there. You cannot skip that, because if you skip, then forget about the meaning, you will be completely off track. Secondly, if you only do wax on, wax off, you will not get the whole picture. So you will be missing the wood for the trees, as they say. And that's also not a very thing. So for me, the analogy or the metaphor here is more like traveling or driving in a ghat section. So one side there is a valley. If you go too much that side, you may fall down and you will miss the thing. And on the other side, there is a mountain. So not coming too much here. So it's kind of a balance between these two. And I think with goal setting, if we can have that kind of a balance of one way is to doing things just because you said so, as you rightly said, and on the other side also having meaning and context around it, so that it gives a sense of fulfillment, a satisfaction when you are doing it. Yeah.
I think at that note, we can complete our today's conversation. Thank you so much for listening.